Hello everyone and welcome back to the Java programming course. This is lecture number 6 and we'll be continuing with the object-oriented programming session. We'll be starting off today's lecture with Java constructor. We practiced it a little bit. We used it in the previous lecture, but we'll go in detail in this lecture. So what are constructors? So constructor is basically a method or a function which is called automatically when we create an object of a particular class. So special method to initialize objects. It is used to basically initialize some object. Initialize the values inside the object, and it is called whenever an object is created. So here's an example. Here the main is the class, and here public main down below. Here is the constructor. So what is the syntax for a constructor? So you have to uh, write public and then the class name itself. So here the class name is main, so the function name is also main, exactly same. Then brackets, and then within these curly brackets you can type whatever you want. So let's say if we create an object of class main, then this function is automatically called. So in that case x would have value 5. So I will show you the example. So this was what we did in the previous lecture, lecture number 5 here, and this was the constructor. So what you can do in constructor is, as shown in the example, you could simply do public car and nothing within the round brackets. So in this case we are not providing any value to it, so here you can just say s out. So, and similarly we can also do it like this. So in this case what we're doing is, while making an object right here, we are providing a value to it which is 5 of data type int, and whatever it is doing is, then it is assigning the value of this variable which is age to the class variable which is age here. So these both are valid, and you can have multiple of these in the same class itself, but you cannot have, let's say, another public car normal bracket. So you cannot have two constructors of which have the same parameters. So these are called parameters, what we are writing inside the brackets. So here these both are considered constructors. So if we put anything in the bracket, here 5 is put. So in this case this will be called public car. But let's say if we create a different object, let's say car 3 is equal to new car. Here, since you're not providing any value inside the bracket, it will automatically detect it, and thus it will call this version of the constructor, and hence it will print hello. So I'll now run it. So here, so car color was red, the car1.age was 5, car2.age was 10, and here when we made the object called car3, what it did was called this constructor automatically, and within this we had printed out hello. So thus here we can see hello is printed out. So here you can do multiple things. So here you can say, you can provide age is equal to 15, so whatever you want. So this was the basic use of constructor. So basically used to assign and called automatically when an object is created. Constructor. Then we come to Java modifiers. So there are two types of modifiers. First are the access modifiers, which will control the access level and basically acts like a mm, security system to security system for the classes. Then are the non-access modifiers. These do not control any access level but are used for other functionalities. So first of all, we look at access modifiers. So first type of access modifier is private. So what is private? So the access level of a private modifier is only within the class. It cannot be accessed from outside the class. So here is a class, and Here we have assigned it value, sorry, here we have assigned it the modifier public, but let's say if we made it private, private, then here it will show some error. Why? Because here we try to access the variable from outside the class. This is the different class. So here it is showing an error. It will be because it is private. If we try to run it, here it is showing error. Color has private access. So, but what it can do is other uh, other methods within the same class can use it. So here, if I try to say color, color is equal to, let's say, blue, then this is perfectly fine because we are accessing it within the class itself. So this was private. Next comes the default access modifier. So what is default access modifier? The access level of a default modifier is only within the package itself, and it cannot be accessed from outside the package. And if you do not specify any access level, then it is set as default. So here, if we did not provide anything, then this is by default set as default. So what was package? So package is basically this com.company. It was automatically given to me by the template in the IntelliJ itself. So basically, whatever is within this com.company can call the method, sorry, you can call the data type, whatever it is, data, which is assigned the modifier as default. And if let's say we had created a different, package itself, okay, then that would not be able to call the default method here. So then comes protected, which is kind of similar to default, but the main difference is that it could be accessed from outside the package through a child class. So if we inherit the class itself, and then it could be accessed again from outside the package. Then comes the public access modifier. So here there is no limitation to it. You can access the methods from anywhere. So it is public modifier is access level is everywhere. It can be accessed from within the class, outside the class, within the package, outside the package. So no limitation. So basically no security. So then comes the non-access modifiers. Oops. So these are used for functionality purposes. And first is static. So the member belonging to the static class, and not to object. So the member belongs to the class, not to the objects of the class, and share a single value. So in static, basically we share a single value, and that is common to the class and common to all objects of the class. Then is the final. So variable values cannot be changed when assigned. So basically we are locking a value to that variable. So if we say final int final int as we assign a variable x as 5 and we give it the modifier as final. So what it does is after that we cannot ever change the value of x. So it would be locked as 5. Then it's abstract. So if applied to a method, it has to be implemented in subclass. If applied to a class, means it contains abstract methods. So abstract will come later. These are not important. Similarly, these are some other modifiers which are not useful at this stage. The synchronized volatile transient, you can read about these, but we will not discuss. Then comes encapsulation. So what is encapsulation? So it is basically hiding of our data. So we use it to hide private data from the users. So we do this by declaring the class variable slash attributes as private, and then we provide the public get set methods to access and update the value of a private variable. So what we are saying basically is here this data is important to us. Okay. So color red is important. We don't want the user to have access to this color variable directly. So we don't want them to mess with it. So what we can do is instead of making it public, we can make it private. And then we use getters and setters. So what are getters and setters? These are basically functions used to assign or receive the value of a private attribute. So we have public. So getters and setters are always public, so that we can use it from outside the class. Public int, sorry, not int. We are doing it for string. Public string get color, and within this we can return our color. And similarly we can do a getter, public void set color and string color, and oops, I spelled void incorrectly, so we have void here, and then here we can say this dot color is equal to color. So here, if now when we have to access that variable, like here we want it to get the value of color itself, we do not just simply do dot color, we have to do car1 dot get color. So basically we are getting the information of what is inside color, but we are not exactly getting the variable itself to use. So hence we are kind of protecting this variable by making it private and using getters and setters. So this is the slide about getters and setters. Get and set methods are implemented in classes to provide encapsulation and to access private variables in the class without directly calling the variable. So here's another example. So here the class is person, and here we have uh, an attribute private string name, and here you see it is private, and here we do string get and return this dot name, and so this is basically a getter. So when we call this function called get, then what it does is it will return the name. Similarly, void set string new name, and what it does is just assigns the whatever we get from here. It should be this dot name is equal to new name. There is a typo in this. It should not be s, as the variable name here is new name. So this dot name is equal to new name. So what we will do is whatever we get in the brackets here would be assigned to this name here. So that is it for today's lecture. If you have any question, you can comment it down below, and hope to see you in the next lecture. So goodbye. Wish you happy learning.